Welcome back to another edition of Gary's Record Collection. And September, the Led Zeppelin, what do you want to call it? A celebration, an exploration, let's call it what it is. It's great. We're wrapping up things with another great concert that happened at the end of September, this time in 1971. We are talking about Led Zeppelin live in Osaka, Japan, 9/29/71. Another famous show. And it's famous because the tape that came out was not just a standard audience tape. It was a soundboard tape. But it was a very curious soundboard tape because, as the story goes, Led Zeppelin, it was their first tour to Japan, and they had got there like the 20th, 21st or so. And they played a couple of shows. So the Japanese record company that represented them, Warner Brothers in Japan, wanted a live album. They thought that live albums were the way to go. And the band agreed. It's like, yeah, you can tape the show, but we want the last word on whether it'll be released or not. And so here comes the Japanese recording crew, and they have like a 6-channel transistor mixer, recorder, some or other, that apparently the sound, when Jimmy Page and Peter Grant listened to it, they thought the tapes were terrible, and so it never got released. However, at some point, some mix down was made, because if you listen to the recording, especially during the acoustic parts, you can hear Jimmy Page in one channel and John Paul Jones in the other channel. I mean, completely separated channels. For so many years, people called it, well, it's not a soundboarded recording, it's a stage recording. And what they did is somebody put 2 microphones on the stage, or put them near the stacks, the speaker stacks, to record it. But you can't get that much separation by doing that. Microphones are basically big vacuum cleaners, right? So if you put the one on the stage, even if you put it on the stage, you're going to get the sound from all over. It's not just that one little area. And to separate that, let's say they're mixing the concert in stereo, and you've got 2 separate stacks. So now you've got to go from one side of the stage to the other and put those microphones right next to the speaker stack to get such a clean sound. Because remember, microphones are vacuum cleaners. They're sucking in the entire room noise, the ambience, the crowd. This was too clean of a recording to be a stage recording like that. It was a mix down. It had to have been a mix down from this recording that the Japanese Warner Brothers, they made. So that got out in the mid-70s, and it was on some bootlegs. Now, the first time I got this on bootleg, actually I got the first time I got this was on a cassette tape. We went to the records conventions every month or two or whatever, and I was always looking for albums, but there was a guy that was always selling cassette tapes. And there were so many titles and concerts that he had on cassette that were not on album. And it was like, after a while, it's like, I need to hear all of this stuff. So I got 9/29/71. The first time I did get it on vinyl was something called After the Slide. And it only has 4 songs on it. Black Dog, That's the Way, Going to California, and Dazed and Confused. The last 4, they call it the last 4 songs of Osaka 71. That was my first version of it that I got on vinyl. The original, one of the originals, was called A Cellar Full of Noise. I got this on eBay not too long ago, a couple of years ago. And that's where it ran fast, I guess, and it wasn't as good. This one I love. This is Japan Tour 71. The cover art is just fantastic on this. I just love this cover art. First time I saw it in the one of the Robert Godwin books, with all the covers, it was like, oh, that's such a great cover. I want it just for the cover. And then in the 80s, here we go. This came out too, live in Osaka, parts 1 and 2. Altogether, it's a 2-album set. And it is just a fantastic show. And then, of course, here comes the CD era. And again, the version that I had here on Japan Tour 71 on Bog Records, it was also on a CD with that great same cover art too. The CD era that started in like 88, 89, one of the big companies that started putting out these bootleg CDs was Toasted. Toasted Records they had a lot of vinyl that went back to like 1980, 79-ish or so, and they were putting out a lot of titles on vinyl. Well, they made the leap to CD, and they put Osaka out. Wild Tour, World Tour, and Wild Side is what it's called. And in there you can see the, as we get off the glare, there's Toasted Records and their emblem too. This was where you could get most of the concert all at once. And it didn't sound the best. They didn't use like the best recording, but you got a good idea of what is happening. So let's talk about the concert itself. So they go to Japan. This is the last night in Japan. And for whatever reason, the Japanese audience, they ate up the Immigrant Song. They love the Immigrant Song. So much that you would expect it to be like an encore because it's their most popular song in Japan, right? Wrong. First song right out the gate. And so the Japanese audience was going nuts. It's like, here's their most favorite song of all time by Zeppelin, and they're leading off the concert with it. It only can get better after that. Now, Zeppelin also had this great thing where they had albums come out, but they would play the songs beforehand. So leading up to it, in the US tour of 71 and then in Japan, they're playing songs from Led Zeppelin IV. It went back as far as March when they debuted Stairway to Heaven before they played the BBC at the end of March. It was in Dublin that they did that. So that was March where they started playing songs from Led Zeppelin IV. That album did not come out until November 8th. So they had, a good 6, 7, 8 months where they were playing new material to audiences who had no idea what it was. And the first song on Led Zeppelin IV, of course, is what people were not used to, but it came out blasting.
Hey, mama said the way you move gonna make you sweat, gonna make you groove. When you shake that thing, gonna make you burn, gonna make you sting. When you walk that way, but your honey drip can't keep away.
And so the audience is going, what is this? This is all new. This is great. But it was fantastic. And so you had, the audience got Black Dog. They got Stairway to Heaven. They got Going to California. And they even got Rock and Roll as the encore of the show. So here you go, 4 songs at least off of Led Zeppelin IV. It hasn't even been released yet. And then so at this point, Plant with Black Dog, he still hadn't gotten the lyrics finalized. Check this out.
Steal my soul, try to love me wrong, sweet jelly roll. Took my car, tell my friend she gonna be a star. I've been told, big leg woman ain't got no soul.
And after a couple of months, they would have those lyrics finalized. And the Sweet Jelly Roll, although that was a callback to the blues artists of the 30s and 40s and into the 50s, that went away. Although it was resurrected as a title for another bootleg from the Cleveland show in '77. Famously in this concert, John Bonham gets sick, has a stomach concern, needs to take a break, has to excuse himself. Because who knows what was going on with they're traveling around the world, right? So they do Going to California, and then they're going to do some other songs, and I'm going to skip ahead here till after when they're ready to go to the next song. Let's listen to the Robert Plant diatribe.
Where's Bonzo? Bonzo! Mr. Bonham. Come on, a round of applause. Where's he gone? Mr. Bonham! Listen. After 3, everybody say, Mr. Bonham. 1, 2, 3. Mr. Bonham! For fuck's sake.
Plant just wants to get on with the show.
Mr. Bonham, what can you say? Mr. Bonham go for bath with geisha. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Right on.
I mean, they wanted to do
I'm afraid
Friends.
Mr. Where is he? Where's Bonham?
They wanted to do Friends, and they'd have to figure out something to entertain the audience while he was missing in action.
All right then. No, Mr. Bonham. Mr. Bonham gone. I know what you mean. So. I'm a country boy. Measuring the summer's day, I only find it slips away to gray. The hours they bring me pain. Tangerine, tangerine, living reflection of a dream. I was her love, she was my queen, and now 1,000 years between. Thinking how
And something that you'd hear in the background here, and this seems to be very typical of Japanese audiences and actually German audiences to it. But like clapping along, like clapping in rhythm, they've very much kept that show going by clap, 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 clapping, which is fine if you're laying down a 4/4 beat. But if it's intricate, they're going to be messed up right away. But they loved everybody Zeppelin going into Tangerine while they waited for John Bonham to come back to the stage. Bonham comes back, they do play Friends. They play What Is and Where Should Never Be, and then Bonham has his drum solo. So by the time the drum solo gets done, he's kind of worked out all of his problems, and then they just go on to have a great rest of the show. Communication Breakdown, a whole lot of love, and then Thank You, and then, like I said earlier, Rock and Roll. And that was it for the Japanese tour of 1971. They went back the next year in October of 72, but that was it. That was the only 2 times that they went to the Far East. So. And I'm glad that 929 was recorded. I said we had the recording from the soundboard slash stage recording. It's a soundboard. A few years ago, the actual soundboard tape came out too. That was recorded by the band, probably by Shoko. The people who were doing the lights and the sound for the concert, apparently they recorded every show on cassette, and they're making their way out into the public now, which is good for us. But yeah, so you have an audience source too to listen to. So you've got the entire concert that you can listen to. It's a classic from 1971, Osaka, Japan. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed it. We will see you next time on Gary's Record Collection.